World Extermination Radio with your hosts, John Vail and Tanner West.
Welcome to World Extermination Radio. I'm 40 Ounce, and I'm here today with Zakken. And I pulled a blunder today. I forgot to record the first 5 minutes of our conversation. So stupid. I'm not a professional, so these things happen. But oh well. Anyway, we left off mid conversation about. I was talking to him. He told me something that he's very interested in. He's actually very involved with the competitive scene in Super Smash Brothers. So this will be the continuation of that conversation. So tune in and thank you for listening once again. Yeah.
In and out of the community, honestly.
So which one do you play? Which one do you prefer?
Oh, I'm not actually an active, not actually a big player per se, but I watch a lot of stuff. I'm mostly a spectator in that community, but I enjoy both games. Melee can be pretty damn fun to watch. Smash 4 can also be pretty exciting to watch sometimes. But yeah, I watch pretty much these two. The first Smash Bros for the 64, it's not as big, but it's rising popularity as well.
Oh, cool.
And Brawl pretty much died once Smash 4 came out because Smash 4 is kind of a majorly updated Brawl when it comes to game mechanics, so everyone just migrated over to Smash 4 and left Brawl in the dust. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Melee is just so different from Smash 4. There's so many, there's so much tech and so many different stuff that separates Melee from Smash 4. You will rarely see any top player in Melee being equally as good as Smash 4 and vice versa.
Oh, I never really played that much Smash Brothers, but I know a little bit about it. I have some friends. The thing is about Smash Brothers is that the people that I know who play it are really into it, and the people who don't play it as much, there's not that many. There's not a lot of casual players. There's the people that love it, and then there's the people that are just kind of I don't really know how I feel about it. But it's cool that there's a huge following and not a huge following, but the people that are who do play it are really enthusiastic about it. That's really cool.
Oh yeah. I think when it comes to community managing, Smash is really amazing because it's originally a grassroots community since as you know, Nintendo never really supported Smash much when it comes to esports and stuff, providing prize pools or whatever. So the Smash community had to grow a scene on its own, kind of like us, honestly. Id Software doesn't really sponsor tournaments or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you can probably get how it was like. But yeah, when it comes to community, many community figureheads in Smash community know so much. So I had a lot to learn from them.
Yeah, it's fascinating when a community develops on its own, just from its own players. Even because you mentioned Doom, Doom is especially amazing because all the people that are involved with it, they're not getting paid to do any of this. They're all just doing this on their own time. So they're developing all these source ports and all these levels that we can play and all kinds of cool stuff. And you're right. Now that I think about it, many of John Romero and Tom Hall, they're really not that involved with the community. It's cool that you can catch up with them on Twitter and ask them a question or something. They'll usually answer, but they're really not that involved. I don't think they're playing any of the levels that we make or pay any attention to what's going on with competitions and multiplayer and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
They're just kind of doing their own thing. And it's cool that things can still be alive, just Super Smash Brothers, how it can just be alive even though there's nobody officially watching over it and kind of helping it develop on its own.
I Actually, Nintendo like has been sponsoring a few tournaments, but their sponsoring was just like, oh, we'll send a few console setups to your tournament. Oh, we'll have a couple of people help set up the tournament, but that's pretty much it. It's just like a few convenient things, but not things like big prize pools and stuff like that. That makes other esports that much bigger, such as League of Legends or Dota 2, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. What other games do you usually watch? Do you watch these games on Twitch?
Yes, they're pretty much all on Twitch. There is this other website called Hitbox.tv. Not sure if you've heard of it, but that one is like really small compared to Twitch. Like pretty much everyone streams on Twitch. Like the premier tournament streamers, the top players who stream their own personal streams. They're pretty much like all on Twitch, pretty much.
Yeah. So what other games do you watch? You said you like to watch Dota?
Oh no! I just mentioned Dota as an example. I don't actually watch it. I only League of Legends I only watch when it's like World Championships.
Oh, okay.
I don't really watch much else outside of Smash, I would say, because like there's so much Smash content to watch pretty much every weekend. Sometimes I watch, sometimes I don't. I just looked at the schedule, just like, oh, there's this big tournament happening this weekend, so I better mess with my schedule until I find the right time to watch it, stuff like that. But there's so much Smash stuff to watch that's like never really felt like, oh, there's something else I want to watch because Smash tournaments are just that exciting to me personally.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the WDL because you got involved with it, and if I understand correctly, I heard that like you kind of entered into the tournament kind of late. Are you a new player this year or this season rather?
No, actually, I was a part of WDL in particular since it was created back in season 1. I was a captain for it. I played in season 1, which was summer 2014. Then I played winter 2015, and I played halfway through summer 2015, and I kind of like. I was like very burned out. I was having a lot of real life stuff going on. I kind of didn't want to play much, and I kind of got kicked out of the league for it because I kind of like just bailed on my teammates, whatever. Not trying to justify my actions. It was crappy of me to do such a thing, but I did get banned for like a year or so, and it just so happened that like a couple of months back, Ralph is PM me, told me like, "Oh, you're unbanned from WDL as of now." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I just signed up for this season. Here I am now.
Wait, so did you got banned for like not being active in the WDL?
It's kind of more complicated than that. Okay. I don't really like talk about it that much, but it's like
just to be clear, I don't want like people to think that we're trying to like shit on people. I mean, if there was like a misunderstanding, we can like. Oh no,
I think I made a thread about it in the Doom League forums. I think I deleted it though. I made a thread about it. I tried to talk about like how I didn't feel like playing anymore, but it was just pretty much like it was too late, and I realized I was just like feeling so much drama and so much like hate from certain players towards me. And Ralph is found it best to just like kick me out and replace me with someone else because I was not helping the situation at all. Yeah, in the end of respect, like Ralph's decision, I even said it in the original thread, just back in season 3. But yeah, I made a lot of dumb shit.
Yeah, well, we all do. We all. I mean, I've gotten into all kinds of forum arguments and stuff on Doom World all the time. I mean, everybody, like, people know me for that I get into fights, and I'm trying to like work it out and try to be like more reasonable. But I still like even like accidentally I'll start a fight, and like it just happens all the time. But
I used to have a lot of like mentality problems back in 2015.
Yeah.
And in some of 2016 as well, but like I said, like Smash Bros stuff was kind of one big factor that like helped me reshape how I see things and stuff like that. So yeah, I've changed a lot since then.
Well, that's good. Yeah, we all do. It's good. I mean, people have to realize that. I mean, like sometimes if like I don't want it sucks when people like they do something kind of stupid like 10 years ago and people still remember them for that and they like hold it against them forever. Like
I'm really not fond of people like that. They were just like, oh, you did that thing like 6 years ago. I'll go make fun of you for it. It's just incredibly childish and just hateful. I don't like it. I try to just ignore people who do that. Honestly.
Yeah, it sucks when that happens. There's like some people that have been banned from Doom World, and like I know they've done some like pretty crazy shit. Like there's this one guy that I talk about a lot because I used to talk to him a lot about like designing levels for Doom, and he was a very ambitious kind of guy, and like he showed me some of the work that he can do, and he always wanted to develop like the best Doom project ever. And
are you talking about Doom Marine?
No, not Doom Marine. The guy, but Doom Marine's another example too. I don't think I'm not sure he's trying to be active in the Doom World community anymore. But the guy I'm talking about is he goes by Sigvitar. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Sigvitar, I think. S-I-G-V-A-T.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, he's done some like really crazy shit. Because like like one the most obvious one is when he was active in the Something Awful forums, and he posted a picture of him jacking off onto his keyboard.
I remember that.
Yeah, every guy knows him for him, but like, but it sucks because there was like it was only a few months ago he created a new forum account on Doom World, and he wanted to release this project that he's been working on for a long time, and I was really excited to see it because I know him because I used to talk to him in like private messages on Doom World and stuff, and he would talk a lot about these projects that he was working on, and he always had like mapper's block. He always had these really ambitious ideas and stuff, and he could never really get anything done. And I tried to like talk with him, and he was helping me too because I was working on a project that I thought would never get finished either. So it was nice having somebody to talk to. Anyway, he came back on Doom World a few maybe like 6 or 7 months ago to talk about his project that he's had on his hard drive for a long time. And he wanted to release it, but he just got banned right away just because he was just because of the ban evasion rule. Like you can't create a second account.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it sucked. I really wanted to see his project, but people still remember him for the crappy stuff he did. And he's and not just that. He used to get in arguments with people all the time and tell them their maps suck and things like that. He was just a very like rude and like just difficult person to deal with. And and for me, I'm able to look past that because I know that people can change eventually. But I don't think people ever believed he was ever going to change, so they just kind of held him to it. And now I don't know where to find him because everything he signs up to. Like I was friends with him on Facebook for a while, and he got banned from Facebook. And he was on YouTube for a little bit, and he got banned. His account got banned from that. So he's always like creating these like ban evasion accounts to like troll people and stuff. So he's always getting himself into trouble. But I don't know where to find this guy anymore because he just gets banned from everything.
Couldn't he like have released that was somewhere else instead of Doom World, like some place where he didn't get banned from?
I hope so. I don't know where to find him, so I'm hoping he can share it with me and I can share it somewhere where people can find it. But I don't know if it's ever gonna happen. I don't know where he is. But to tie it back to what you were talking, I'm sorry I went on this like huge rant. But to tie it back to what you were saying, like people change. Sometimes you say something kind of stupid, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be like that forever.
Some people still try to get back at me for, should I say, like a year and a half back.
Yeah, it's like, dude,
just try to ignore it all. Like, doesn't represent like the person I am now, so why bother, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I am back in WDL like for this season, Winter 2017, which happens to be like the largest season ever in WDL history. I'm pretty excited to be a part of it because like the Fed, for most of the time I was banned from the league. I was also banned from the forums and IRC, so I really couldn't like interact with anybody from in the WDL while I was banned. So the fact that I got banned, it allowed me to like check the forums again, and I seized the opportunity to just like make a bunch of stat threads, which you can see in the forums. Like I made a whole bunch of topics of different stuff. But anyway, I was the captain for the first 3 seasons. Like, but right now I'm just like a regular player. I was drafted, and I'm in a team. My captain is now all-stab. I don't think I never had all-stab in my team before. So, and I'm pretty glad to have him around because he's not only a good player, but he's a great captain as well. He's always one step ahead, thinking what to do, backup strat, stuff like that.
Yeah, I listened to Altstab a little bit on WDL radio, and he seems
he's
like
always
a really
there
cool guy.
also.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's cool. So you played in a game yesterday. How did you do?
I think I played pretty solid. Like I'm still kind of nervous. Like when it's game time,
I can
the
imagine.
tournament nerves get to me. Like that happens to most people, especially when they really care about winning.
Yeah.
Just like I haven't participated in like WDL for at least a year, so obviously I'm just kind of rusty when it comes to like dealing with that tournament pressure.
Yeah, so I can imagine.
That's why like my first couple of games were kind of shaky, like week 1, week 2. But on week 3 onwards, I've been able to like manage it better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, what happened in week 4 is that so my team is Altstab, who's the captain, me and Rude, who's a new team member. Because before Rude, we had Dragon, who's now in SXP, and we traded Dragon for Rude in week 3, which has been paying off immensely for us. So yeah, we have been practicing a lot. The main strategy we had was that I played defense, Rude played mid, and Altstab played offense. So we had that strategy for most of the time. And then when game day came around, I came on like 11 a.m. Sorry. I practiced with Stab and Rude. And we decided to like try a different strat to see how it went. Right. That's usually how it goes when in practice. We just like practice different strats until something clicks with us. Like something, not necessarily something that makes us win easier, but something that like we feel more comfortable with, because we can't really gauge our practice performance solely by game results, because we always have different teams to play against. Like, sometimes we have like TKV, which is like the top team in WDR right now. That's like the cream of the crop right there. So that's like quality practice. But sometimes we have like a team full of free agents, which is obviously not as good. So we'll obviously like win almost every time. But that's why we can't just look at the scores and judge how efficient our particular strategy is just by looking at them. So we kind of just go by like, it's a mix of like results and how we feel performing that particular positioning.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we try that backup strat, we always call it backup strat because it's like, if we lose game 1 with the strat we had planned, we'd probably switch it up if we're not feeling very good about the original strat. So I switched to mid, and Rude switched to defense, and that was pretty much our backup strat. I just switched with Rude, and it actually turned out pretty damn amazing. Like I feel like we were doing a lot more consistent. We actually snuck in one single warm-up game before game time against Ralphus, Demon Sphere, and Denzoa, which was like a really strong team, and we were losing like 1-0.
That's still pretty good.
We had to stop mid game because it was already game time, but we could tell like, oh, we were like barely losing by 1 flag.
Yeah.
Against a team this strong. So, and it did seem pretty. This trend seemed pretty comfortable. So let's not just start with it. I pitched in that idea to Stab, and he agreed with it. So we just roll with it. Like I played mid, and Root played D. So that was this trend we had, and it worked out pretty well. Like SXP, they had the lead for the first 2 rounds. Like the game started with SXP scoring 1. In fact, round 1 was kind of complicated because they scored 1 cap in the first 2 minutes of the game, and then it was like 4 minutes or so without anything happening. SXP had the lead 1-0. But then we started bringing it back in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. And then we won round 1. Round 2 was like similar, in which SXP scored in the first 30 seconds, but then we brought it back again, but this time much faster.
Damn.
So yeah, I was actually pretty amazed at how it played. I think it played really good. So did Root and Stab. Like Root is, if you know Root is not much of a defensive player, but his aim is really strong. So it just so happened to work out in our favor to have him play defense, because he usually runs. He's usually a runner. In fact, if you would look at week 3, we had Root run and Outstab play D while I was mid. So this time we had Root defend and Outstab attack, which is like the complete opposite, and we still like won that too. So I also really like how flexible our team is. Like we can play almost any position, play well with it.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I was that's really fascinating that SXP, the Sexual Panthers, that was awesome that they like scored that 1 point in the beginning, because that's got to be like kind of frightening to know like they got that lead so quick. And yeah, that's got to be frightening. But that's awesome that you got that recovery like afterwards, and you ended up winning the game. That's pretty sweet. And it's also really cool that you guys are flexible, because I think that's really important for a team to be. For guys that can shift positions and not like be stuck on one thing. I think it makes the team feel good, and I think it's good for to play against enemies so that they can't, like, if you're really rigid in how you guys figure out your strategy, you can, like, the other team can kind of develop a strategy that works against that. So the fact that you guys can like switch and do different positions on the team, I think it kind of shakes things up and makes it difficult for them to like plan ahead.
Oh yeah, this was one particular thing about our team that we didn't have before, because back when we had Dragon, it was like, oh, we were trying this positioning, didn't look so good. Then we tried this other positioning, it didn't seem so good either. Like back when we had Dragon, most strats we tried didn't seem very good. And the other problem is that Dragon's an European player, right? He's from Sweden.
Yeah.
So, and most times when Dragon's available, Stab was busy at work, so we couldn't really practice with Dragon much at all, except for like certain days with Stab had days off or weekends pretty much. So that hurt us, because like I think in a league like this where all teams are just really strong on paper, the one thing that like separates the good teams from the best teams is just how much you practice every day. Like some teams still to this day, some teams still like undervalue the importance of practicing regularly. Like some people go like, oh, I know this map head to toe, so I don't really need to practice because I know everything there is to know about this map. But they're still wrong, because they might know like everything about a certain map, how to play a specific position, but they're not as used to playing with the team they have. Because the way WDL works, I believe Ralph is explaining like the way the WDL auction draft works. Has he?
Huh? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, I'm saying like, did Ralph explain like how the WDL draft works?
Yeah, he did. I'm sorry. He did explain how it works, how you guys like.
Okay.
You get together and you get the captains and pick teams and stuff. Yeah, I got that.
Okay, so due to the nature that the WDL draft works, you're almost always gonna end up with players you've rarely played with before. So you always end up with completely new teams. You just have to look at like Ralphus, for example. Like every season he had a completely different team, except for maybe like Tony, who's been his team for plenty of times. But yeah, most captains, like every season they completely shift their lineup just because of the way the auction draft works. And even if you deem yourself like the most knowledgeable Dune CTF player of all time, you still have to like learn how your teammates play and how you have to play so that your team performs the best.
Right.
So yeah, like, and it's not as simple as like, I just gotta play D. These guys are gonna mid and run. No, it's not as simple as that. Sometimes, like, this mid player plays mid in a certain way, and this other mid player plays mid in a completely different way.
Yeah.
So you have to learn like how to best complement your teammates' play styles so that you can score the most flags and leak the least flags of your own.
Yeah. Have you played with those the teammates that are on your team now? Or have you played with those guys in the past, or is this like a whole new thing for your season?
Actually, they're all new, I would say. I have never played with Stab on my team before because in the first season, Stab was a member of Water's team.
Oh, okay.
And season 2, Stab became a captain of his own, and he stayed a captain until now. So I never really had a chance to like have him in my team because I was a captain too. So like captains can be like in the same team. So captains will always be in opposing teams. Like for example, Bones became a captain in like season 4 or 5. I don't remember very well. And since then, Ralphus and Bones could not become teammates anymore for as long as either of them continued to be captains.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stab is an all new teammate for me. And I'm really happy. Like even if we lose in the playoffs, whatever happens, I'll be happy about it because I was pretty glad that I played with him.
Oh, that's nice, man.
Really, yeah, he was a reliable teammate and very fun to hang out with. So yeah, there's that factor too. Like you gotta have fun. Like that's the main objective of it all. Really, if you're not having fun, then something is wrong, honestly.
Yeah.
That's something I learned way too late into the game, honestly. But yeah, I've been having a really fun season. And so Rude, right? I think Rude is also a new teammate for me. Yeah, I never got around to drafting Rude. Rude was a captain for a good few seasons as well. So I never really had a chance to draft him back when I was a captain. So he's also a new teammate. I think I never drafted Dragon Eater back when he was in my team. But yeah, I never drafted Dragon in past seasons. I also made a thread which like pretty much lists all teams in all seasons, the way they look like. So if you're ever like you're curious about where was this guy in this season, you could just like look it up. It's all the information is there.
Oh, that's cool. for those listening, that's doomleague.org. What's the thread title? Do you remember?
It's season placements. It's in the WDL stats rule changes forum. Yeah, I've made plenty of threads. It's like season placements. It pretty much talks about like, where this team standing in that season, if they won or if they got second place or if they lost in the playoffs or if they didn't even make playoffs. All the information is there for like all the 6 seasons that took place thus far.
That's cool. That's good for me because honestly I haven't been following the WDL that closely, but it's nice to have like a cool like reference to look at like the WDL history and kind of figure out how things work. And it's awesome how
it's on like one post. It's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, it's awesome how like things get shaken up every season too. Like with how teams are shifted around and like nobody's like really playing with their usual guys. They have to kind of like learn these new relationships.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have, and I can imagine how crazy it must be to sometimes play against like people who might have been your enemy in the past or like your rival in the past seasons. So it'd be cool.
Oh,
to, like,
yeah.
that's got to be like got to be crazy because you have to like get along with them if you've had if you guys have like fought or something in the past.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely correct. I don't think I've had that happen. Like in the first season, I had Yorick and Legion as my main lineup. Personally, I would say that like I got in slightly bad terms with Legion after that season because I think we didn't get along very well. So I kind of made it a point to like not draft him again. Because even though he's like a good player in his own right, I don't think that like his play style was helping mine at all.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the thing. Like you can't look just past. You can't look just at a player's perceived skill. You have to look at like how well they play with you. That's like I would say that's probably an even bigger factor, honestly.
Yeah.
You just gotta look at like, this guy might not be too good in some people's eyes, but in my team, I know that he can play amazing, so I'll draft him.
Yeah.
So
they were talking about that on WDL. They're on WDL radio. They were talking about how important it is for communication, and that's super important, especially if it's somebody that like you've been fighting with in the past. You guys probably don't communicate very well because you probably don't like talking to each other. So if you guys get in fights and stuff, it's gonna suck for your team, and it's gonna screw things up. But yeah, I can imagine. Well, it's cool to hear about how the things are like being how people like aren't on the same teams all the time, because I think that's kind of helping people like shape their like relationships. Like when we had Human Bones and Ralphus on the show, they said there really isn't as much drama in the WDL anymore, because like I think I think it's probably attributed to the way that that people are like playing on different teams all the time, so they can't really identify with like a group of people because they're always working with somebody different, and it kind of helps. If you guys want to win, you have to learn to like each other and work together.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. The way the WDL draft works, it helps against creating divides in the community because they're always playing with different people, as you said. So yeah, I would say that the WDL community in general has been pretty tame compared to like past times.
Yeah, well, it's nothing like old Skull Tag or like the Z Demon community, because I guess well, and it seems like the WDL is kind of like an invite only type of thing. Like you have to be good to be inside in the.
It's actually not invite only. It's like pretty much open to whoever wants to play. They can sign up and stuff.
Yeah, right. But like, what I mean is like if you have to be like, you also have to like be a pretty decent player to actually be like chosen in a draft and actually be involved with it.
Like that is true.
That's different than something like old Skull Tag or Xandronome or Z Demon communities where anybody can show up. So if you're a douchebag and you want to fight with people all the time, you can just make an account and start fights, and you can just like join in like public CTF servers and just pick fights with people if you want. And if that's who you are, then there's really nothing that the community can do to prevent that besides ban you. But So I guess that probably helps in the way that the WDL doesn't have as much drama, because people who are in it, they had to like put in a certain amount of like effort to be involved in it.
Oh yeah, I agree completely. The community overall is much better. Like Ralph is and a few other people try to like actively work against like drama. Like if someone tries to start shit in the channel, they're just like, put it down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it gets most of the job done, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like drama in a way. Well, not necessarily drama, because that's kind of like that's a really negative way of putting it.
I like banter, like like trash talk and stuff like that.
That's my favorite. I love seeing people talk shit, because I think it makes it makes the stakes higher and it makes it more exciting to watch, especially if you watch two people that are like they're fighting with each other, and then you actually get to see them play against each other, and you can see who's the one that was talking shit and who was actually who actually like paid it forward and like performed well.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually that actually helps towards creating some of the most exciting games. Just like seeing who's got beef with each other and just like, oh my god, who's gonna win, who's gonna lose.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I think it makes it more exciting. It makes the stakes higher. And sometimes for me, sometimes like being angry like charges me up. It makes me play better. Like, because if I'm like, if I'm just kind of like whatever, if I lose, who cares? Everybody had a great time. I might not play as well. So sometimes like being like kind of frustrated and like really wanting to win and show this guy up, like that gives you that extra drive to play better.
Yeah, exactly. Like trash talk just like motivates you to like play more, bring out the best game possible. If you're just like all friendly and stuff, you don't have nearly the same drive to beat the shit out of the enemy team as you would have if they have someone you really don't like or who try to start beef with you.
Yeah. It's I don't want to like encourage people to fight more often because I don't want people to like fight because they feel like that's something that needs to be done. But it's because like
especially because some people don't know how to differentiate like just regular banter to just like straight up being offensive, being rude, and just being bad manners in general.
That's
so
exactly
people just
right.
like can't tell the difference very well.
It's a weird thing. I get that. I sometimes like to pick fights with people on like just when I can, you know, if I feel like it. But it is kind of I don't always want people to take it really personally. I don't want them to think that just because we're fighting it doesn't necessarily mean that I hate you or anything, and I don't want like people to think that you're a douchebag or anything if I just let you if you just take it. But I don't know. I kind of like it, it's exciting. It makes things a little more exciting for like rivalries and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of fun this week because I don't think Bones likes me personally.
Yeah.
So
that might not be entirely true, and I'm sure if Human Bones was here, he probably wouldn't say he wouldn't like legit say right to your face that he doesn't like you. But it can feel
I could be wrong. I mean, I think Bones has some beef with me, like ever since before I got banned from WXR. I think he had like some beef with me. So yeah, I was actually kind of excited to play, and that was one reason why, honestly.
You think that helped you when you played against him?
Yeah, especially Dragon. Actually, not even Bones, just Dragon. It was like there was some drama around the trade because Dragon kind of forced Steph to make a trade because Dragon was like, pretty much laid it down to me like, yo, this is not working. Our team lineup is not gonna work. We should either like trade me out or trade Zakken out or just bench Zakken, which I think was a ridiculous idea because I was like one of the main players.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say anything against Tony back when he was our fourth, but he was our fourth. Like, Stab spent most of the money getting me and Dragon, so
yeah,
it was like no point to benching us. It was kind of a handicap in some sort of way. I think it was ridiculous of Dragon to even suggest that. Again, like nothing against Tony, but it was our fourth player. The way the WDL teams are made, it was like the captain, 2 players, and 1 sub player. The sub player is kind of like a subjective thing. It's just like, oh, you spent the least amount of money on this guy, so he's probably like the one player that other teams didn't want to spend much money on. So he's most likely going to be your sub player, like the kind of guy who just plays only when like one of your main players are not around.
Yeah.
And so yeah, in the end, Stab ended up training Dragon, and and we started trash talking each other. Like me and Dragon was like, "Yo, I'm better than you," and Stab made the right call by training you because you're the lesser player.
Yeah. So, that sucks when that happens, but I don't know. But it sucks that we have to kind of like I hate that we always like I kind of like learning about like these rivalries and stuff, but it's hard to talk about because you kind of have to like walk on eggshells when you're talking about it, because because we're live in front of people, and you don't want to like spread the wrong message and like make people think that we're like trying to fight, and then you end up having to like deal with this later because like Dragon's like, hey, I heard what you said on WXR.
You don't want to like paint other players in a bad light. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it just sucks when that happens. It's weird. It sucks. I actually wrote this blog about it, about how like you always have to like when you talk about something where you have like kind of an opinion about it, you have to like talk in such a way where you have to be like, I understand this, and like I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say this. I'm also not trying to say that. And I'm like, just get to the message. I want to hear what you have to say. But like if you just go ahead and go right to it, people can like misconstrue it and like think that you meant something else when you really didn't. So you always have like before you talk about anything, you always have to like explain what you're not saying. So like when you're talking about like people that you've like had beef with and in the WDL, you also have to like be like, oh, by the way, I'm not trying to say I don't like this person or whatever. And it's like you kind of have to like beat around the bush, and I just like it's hard to communicate that way. And I think that's
yeah, I agree.
It's like that's such a big problem with like things like I don't know, you've probably heard about like fake news like spreading around all the time. Like people are always like, freaking out about fake news.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't matter what people are saying if like you don't like if you don't trust that person, then you don't have to listen to them. So it doesn't matter what they're saying. If they're saying something that's wrong, then like if other people believe it, then other people are stupid, okay? And you don't have to worry about those people because they should listen to like their trusted sources. So like when I talk about things on like the World Extermination Radio and stuff, I do try to like remind people constantly that like I don't always know about everything, so I can be wrong about stuff all the time. But it's like that I have to keep doing that over and over because it's like it seems like a waste of time because I want to talk about something, but it doesn't always mean that I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I'm just not informed, and I understand that people can correct me, but whatever. Sorry, I went on like this whole like wild tangent.
No. I think we're pretty on the money about it. Like I don't have actual issues with Dragon. It was just like mostly banter, really.
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with Bones either, even though I'm not sure if he has a problem with me. We'll have to ask him about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anyone I generally have major issues with. There's some people I really don't like, but that's like not important or worth mentioning.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
If anyone, for anyone who knows me, I'm kind of aggressive person. Like sometimes I will like trash talk someone, especially when trash talk to in the first place. Like if anyone says like anything like negative about me, even if it's like banter or serious or whatever, I will like trash talk back and just like keep the flames up.
Yeah,
It's fun, honestly.
It's fun. That's exactly what it is. It's fun. I think it makes things more exciting. That's how it is for me. I like to see because when even when you start fights, it gets people motivated to talk. And if everything's like always calm all the time, then people are just kind of just keep quiet and there's like no activity. And it's fun to like listen to people like get fired up and like hear how they really feel. I've gotten in so many fights on Doom World, just like posting in like forums and stuff, and I kind of like to keep the things burning just because I like to see what people have to say, and I don't really like the idea. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but I do want people to talk passionately about things that they like. So like I like in my head I try to keep things like pretty open. I like the idea that people can tell me something that I can admit when I'm wrong. I don't like to admit when I'm wrong because it's not easy to do, but but I do like to listen to people if they have like more experience about something or they're more informed about something that I'm not, and I just kind of keep it in mind. It helps me shape my perspective. But I have gotten in fights with people in the past, and like you, I don't really have a major problem with anybody. I really don't. It's not. I do like to pick fights, and sometimes I can get in like fights that last days and days and days. But I get motivated by stuff like that. Just kind of it just keeps the like you said, keeping the flames burning.
Yeah, I like to sometimes like just challenge people, you know, like whether it's just like in terms of like game or just like intellectually arguments and stuff like that. Yeah. I like challenging and being challenged sometimes. I think in the end it makes us all like better people in the end.
Yeah. Does Super Smash Brothers have any like rivalries or anything?
Oh, you bet it does.
Yeah, it does. That's probably what makes it so exciting.
Yeah. It kind of helps understand like the importance of like rivalries and building storylines.
Yeah.
Like keeps not only the players entertained but the spectators as well. Like they want to see how these rivalries turn out, like what games happen, how they resolve, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing in the world when someone talks a lot of shit and then they like lose terribly. That's so much fun to see. I like to see someone like just completely screw up. And they're like, they spend all this time.
Or if they somehow ends up winning, right? That like gives you a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's awesome. I wonder how many other games have like really big rivalries and like drama in the community and stuff. Like I don't want to say drama because that's such a negative word, but like the
drama. Yeah.
Because it's like it's a word that kind of like it gives people the impression that it's like it's stupid. It doesn't matter. It's just like catty girls like getting in a fight about stuff that doesn't matter. But I like it. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if other games have stuff like that. But that's one of the things that kind of makes me excited for like the WDL because I know the stakes are so high. So I feel like if people are really passionate about it, they will fight, and that makes it kind of exciting for me because I like to see people. But I'm also like very. I'm always very even when people like lose, I'm very congratulatory. I always want to tell people that they played an awesome game because I don't want them to feel bad. I just want, but I do like to see the excitement.
Yeah, exactly. Like when our game happened, right? GPS versus SXP, we beat SXP like 2 rounds, whatever.
Whatever.
There was this guy among the spectators was like just like talking shit about XXP and just being really toxic. I didn't like that. I think that's the kind of stuff that should be mitigated in my opinion. Like trash talk is fine, but then when he starts being like, "Oh, dude, you're so bad at this game. You should quit. You're disappointing me. Whatever," it's just like being incredibly annoying to a losing team. That's like the last thing they want to hear is just like how bad you played and just being. I think that's just disrespectful. Overall, like that, there's like trash talk when like both parties involved know that it's trash talk. It's just banter. They don't mean anything serious or personal or dramatic. But if like some outsider just starts like trying to start shit with like either the winning team or the losing team, I think that's when it kind of crosses the line, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when it's like when the trash talk is like not informed or it's like it's very unfounded. Like when you're listening to people talk who don't know what they're talking about, that's frustrating, especially if they're very loud and they're. Yeah. It's like it's hard to deal with because like you don't want people who don't follow this very much to listen to those people just because they're loud. And
I think that context is a very underrated aspect in many of these trash talks. Some people just like, "Oh, I don't know anything about what's going on, but let me join in and just make things aggressive and toxic for all parties involved for no reason, just because I like drama." I think that's the kind of mentality that should not be encouraged.
Yeah, that's where it gets annoying. It's hard, and it's hard to draw the line because you don't know what people know. So sometimes, like, some people do know what they're talking about, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, like context is such a big thing when it comes to these interactions.
Yeah.
People don't see that. People just see like take it at face value and just try to either join in or just try to be like, "Yo, no, don't trash talk. Trash talk is bad." And they don't know, like, just banter. Nobody's like actually feeling offended or just being actually, demotivated to play stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because like sometimes you can like even people who like trash talk can also be on the other side and like try to prevent like legit like bullying, where you're just kind of like
it goes both ways. There are people who like take it too far, or people who don't want it to exist at all.
Yeah, it's such a gray area. You never really know whether it's bad or not. So it's a very sketchy thing to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's purely context. Context, it's what like defines everything about these things.
Yeah, it just helps if people like know each other better. If they like actually take the time to like understand who they're talking to, instead of like kind of, you don't want to like pick on somebody if you don't really know who they are, because that just kind of gives the wrong impression of who you are if you're being a douchebag to somebody who they don't even know who you are. So like yeah, and like the WDL, it's cool that like people are. I like the fact that it's kind of like a community that people are very, that take a lot of, they there's a lot of stake in it. People like get involved in it, and they.
Oh yeah, people are very invested into it. Yeah. Like most people.
Yeah, so it's
like you can't always get like everyone, like every single person to be like 100% motivated. That's like impossible. Well, yeah. But it's like amazing just seeing how many teams are really like devoted to playing their best and winning and beating everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky subject. It's because like I don't know. You never really know whether, because sometimes some people are getting their feelings hurt and you don't really know it. You think it's trash talking, it's really not. And that's kind of how. That's how like when like moderators and stuff, they kind of have to put a stop to everything, and they don't really know if it's trash talk or not. But
oh yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, so sometimes it's healthy and sometimes it's not, but you never really know for sure. That's kind of like that's my frustration sometimes when I hear about people like on forums that are getting banned when they do stuff like that, because sometimes I feel like it's an okay thing, but I guess I don't realize most of the time that they're hurting other people's feelings, even though it's not hurting me. I don't know. It's tricky. People have like different. I guess they have different spectrums for how much like shit they can take.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And I actually made a thread on Doomworld asking people what they think about flame wars, like when people when people are posting like 3 times a day like to get their argument across, and sometimes it gets like really personal. And I was actually really surprised that most people really hate it. They really don't like flame wars at all. They don't like when things get really charged. But I like it because I think it makes things interesting. It puts a lot of people like when there's not a lot of activity, it's not fun for me. I like to see people talking. So even if if they're like angry, it's still exciting for me. I like to see people talking.
I think the main issue, especially in forums, especially in like forums that are very active, I think Doom World is probably like one of the most active forums when it comes to Doom in general, right? Yeah. Probably the most one, honestly. It's either Doom World or Z-Doom, right?
Yeah.
I think those two are like the most active forums in the Doom community right now. So yeah, well, I think that the problem with allowing heated but productive, I would say, but still heated discussion, the problem with letting such heated discussion to like take place is that like toxic people will start thinking, oh, if that's allowed, then I'm allowed to just say whatever shit that is in my mind, and I will feel justified doing it because that happened. So
that's exactly right. I think you hit the nail on the head.
So yeah, they use that strawman to just spread their toxicity and just feel justified and just call like, oh, these mods are bad because they banned my content, didn't ban their content, even though it's the same content. When in reality, it's not the same content because the guy just couldn't like understand better. Just that's actually productive discussion, but you're just like calling that person names or just resorting to like personal shit.
Yeah.
I think that's actually something that I'm sure that that's something that happened in some form or another to some extent in the past. Yeah, I think that's something that like the Doom World and Z-Doom must probably reach to like some acceptable conclusion, which is just like not allow these very heated discussions to take place.
Yeah, you kind of have to like set that precedent. I guess that makes sense because the way before I made that thread, I thought like if I had my own forums and everybody was talking in it, if there was fights, I would just let them go. I want to see what happens. I want to see how far people will go. But I guess that's like I guess that would get really crazy real quick because a lot of people would see that.
Yeah, you have to set like the right percentage, right?
Yeah,
because if you start letting some things go, it will easily get out of hand, and you end up like not knowing what to do.
Yeah, and then like every other thread is just a new fight, and everybody's fighting, and everybody hates each other, and it's just like a terrible community where everybody is angry and wants to kill each other. And have you ever?
Yeah, exactly. That kind of community just like faded to die eventually.
Yeah, because people just get so sick of it. They get like so angry all the time. It's like it's not even a fun place to go because everybody's always angry. But I actually read this was a long time ago, but I read this newspaper article about a guy who got in his he got in like a forum argument or something, and he got in his car and he drove all the way to the other person's house. Like he found out his information, like I guess through like Facebook or something. He drove all the way over to his trailer. He was living in a trailer, and he set it on fire while he was sleeping in it. He tried to kill him. He tried to kill him over a forum argument.
Where did this happen?
Well, I read it in the news. I read it in a newspaper article like maybe 5-10 years ago. But
that's one issue with the internet. Like, you never know when some kind of psycho will join in and just do shit like that.
Yeah, you don't know who's crazy and who's not.
At least, thankfully, there's a decent amount of safe measures you can take. At least, so like you can keep your IP hidden, stuff like that. So you keep yourself safe against like crazies like that.
Yeah, that's so crazy to think about, though. I guess I didn't really think about that when I thought about making. Well, I wouldn't have made my own forum anyway because I know not a lot of people would join it. But because like Doom World and Z-Doom, those have been around for so many years. They developed their own following, and if I just started one today, I'd probably get like maybe 2 people to join it and never post in it. But I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy though. I guess you never really know.
Yep.
So do you know when your next WDL game is?
Not yet. I mean, it is Sunday, so week 5 will start after today. Okay. It will be the last week of the regular season, so it's easily going to be the most heated week because it will decide playoff spots for most teams. But right. This season, like even though you've had some clearly dominant teams such as TKV and Suck, most other teams are still like fighting each other out for like the playoffs. But there are 8 teams and 6 playoff spots. So mathematically speaking, it doesn't take much to like make playoffs.
Yeah.
Like 3/4 of the whole amount of teams to join the playoffs. But still, like you don't want to be left behind.
Yeah.
In the last 2 places. So yeah, right now, there are still 2 week 4 games left to take place tonight. One which is HFM versus TDT, the other which is Suck versus Hype. So, of course, these games will like be very important. They will decide playoff spots possibly for TDT and Suck. So, but right now the guaranteed playoff spots are TKV and my team, which is GPS. So that's 2 spots taken and 4 spots left, and 6 teams have to like fight it out for these remaining 4 spots.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like when one team guarantees a playoff spot, that means one last spot for you to fight for. That's when it starts to get more and more interesting.
Yeah.
So week 5, it will decide plenty of things. I would say, decide everything really. So. Take, for example, my own team. GPS will play TDT next week, right?
Yeah.
It will be our last game of the regular season. TDT is currently like, let's just put it practically and say that, okay, let's assume that HFM will win or lose, it doesn't matter HFM's result this week. But let's assume that Hype loses, right?
Yeah.
Because since they're like one of the lowest scoring teams right now. So assuming that the top 4 teams will be TKV, TDT, Suck, and GPS, while the lower 4 teams are SXP, Reg, HFM, and Hype. So with that in mind, right?
Yeah.
In week 5, it will be GPS versus TDT, which is 2 top 4 teams. So the winner of this game will pretty much decide who's gonna pull ahead in the playoffs. Because making playoffs is one thing, but another thing to consider is playoff seed. Like if you end up first in the regular season standings, then that means you get the first seed in the playoffs, which I believe gives you like home field advantage. Actually, they changed the home field system in the WZL since season 4, and I did get banned for season 4 onward, so I'm not that familiar with it.
Yeah.
Because now the way the playoffs work is that like both teams' home fields get played. Basically, you play one round in your home field, then you play 2 games in the opposing team's home field, then you play 1 game in your home field, and so on. So actually, I'm not very familiar with it, unfortunately. Actually, let me look it up real quick. But yeah. Okay. So like whoever wins GPS versus TDT is gonna pull ahead in terms of playoff seed, and that's very important. If you went for this season in particular, since there's 6 teams making playoffs, that means that the first 2 seeds, like the top 2 seeds, will like skip out and play 1 game for the first week of the playoffs. The first week of the playoffs will be 3rd seed versus 6th seed, and 4th seed versus 5th seed.
Yeah.
And top 2 seeds will just like not have to play at all, and they will just wait for the winners of these first games.
Right.
All right. So with that in mind, the first seed is gonna play the winner of 4th versus 5th, and the second seed will play the winner of 3rd versus 6th. So I would say that in the end, home field used to be an advantage back before WDL implemented this new system. But I would say that these days, the only thing that benefits you with having higher seed is that you play a lower seeded team, which is supposed to be an easier game. Yeah. Technically, they sort of play a lower seed. Yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. Personally, I want to beat TDT, not just because, we'll pull ahead of TDT, but if we pull ahead of TDT, that means that we're guaranteed 3rd seed or above. Depends on how Suck performs in these last couple of weeks. Because Suck has a lot of points. They have 9 points. They can easily get 2nd seed. So that's why I'm assuming we get 3rd seed if we beat TDT. If we beat TDT, we'll get 3rd seed. And that means we'll end up on this side of the bracket where we'll not have to end up against TKV. Because I think that TKV is possibly the strongest team right now. Yeah. So, if we can avoid them, the better, right?
Right.
So, yeah, if we get 3rd seed, we can avoid TKV's side of the playoff bracket.
Huh.
But if we lose, we'll get 4th seed, and 4th seed plays 1st seed in the semifinals if they beat 5th seed, which is most likely gonna be TKV at this rate. So yeah, I'm finding not to end up in 4th seed or 5th seed, trying to fight for 3rd or above. So yeah, that's cool. That's my game. Then there's SXP versus Hype in week 5. Both of these teams are kind of low on points, so this game will pretty much decide the playoff spot for whoever wins this match.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be very, very intense.
Yeah.
As for the other two games, it's gonna be Reg versus Suck. Reg is also like one of the last places. I mean, they have 5 points, which is not too bad, but they have to like take some points from Suck in this game, or else there's a small chance that maybe they won't make playoffs. But yeah, it's gonna be a difficult game for Reg. The main issue with Reg is that they don't practice very often. I mean, they did practice like a lot on game day last Friday, but it didn't help them much. I mean, there's only so much you can do with 1 day of practice, right?
Yeah, you can't cram all in one day. You got to keep.
Yeah, exactly.
You're rusty. It takes a while.
I've tried that before, like cramming 1 day of practice. It doesn't work.
It doesn't.
You have to like do. That's the
you got to be consistent.
Thing. Like, go ahead.
You got to be. Yeah, you're right. You got to be consistent. You can't just kind of like you can't rush it on the last day, because if you're not ready, then you're not ready, and then you're going to play in the game. You're going to play like crap, and people are going to see you, and they're going to the stakes are high. So you have to be active and play regularly. Play like every couple of days, because I know exactly how it feels, because I work in a job where I'm not at home a lot, so I have to, when I play Doom, I play like maybe once or twice a week, and almost every time I start playing after like a whole week, it takes me a while to get back to as good as I was doing. Like it just takes me, it's just not easy. It takes a lot of extra time to like kind of get where you want to be.
Yeah. Like the ideal practice routine is like practice like 2 or 3 hours, but you have to practice every day. You can't just like, I gotta practice for 8 hours. I don't think any team's ever done that, but yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Theoretically speaking, just practice like 2 or 3 hours every day is better than just like practice for 8 hours in a single day. For a few reasons. There's like burnout is one thing. Another thing is that like if you take a break from playing, you can just like, when you get back, you're gonna like understand some things better. Sometimes like taking a short break helps a lot more than just like playing until you get burned out.
Yeah.
So I would say that's another thing that I learned from like Smash Bros. Like practice routines. That's like super important. Like cool. I said way at the beginning of this podcast, it's like people undervalue the importance of practicing.
Yeah.
That's why like the teams that are up top are the teams that practice most often. Like TKV, they practice pretty much every day, so they pretty much earned all these wins they've had.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
GPS has been practicing more and more often, so we're winning more. And Suck is like average in terms of practice, but they've been doing great also.
Yeah.
HFM is probably the team that was pressing the least, I would say, in my opinion. So they're last place right now, but I mean, anything can happen. Maybe HFM can beat TDT right now. Well,
yeah, that's the exciting.
Like I say, like these teams all look great on paper. It's practice that actually separates the good from the best.
That's exactly right. That's what's so exciting about it, is because sometimes, like even though you see a team like practice or like not practicing all the time, but if you see like good players or they have good scores or whatever, it doesn't really mean anything, because like if they're having an off day, that's going to show, and it's going to show when you guys are playing against somebody who's been practicing for days and days and days.
That's another thing that helps with practice. It helps to remain consistent. Like that's the one thing about tournaments is that like you almost never play your A game. You gotta practice so much that even your B or your C game is good enough to win.
Yeah,
that makes sense. You have to make it so that even when you're playing bad, you're still playing good enough to win.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like something that some players fail to see, and they should learn eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
the last game is I forgot to talk about is TKV versus HFM. Most people are banking on the fact that this will be a free win for TKV, since it's pretty much. Hold on one sec.
Yeah.
So like TKV is pretty much number one, and HFM is pretty much dead last.
Yeah.
So that's why most people think it's gonna be free wins. combined with the fact that HFM is not practicing as much. So yeah, people are probably gonna look past that game, but who knows? It's in map 29, which is it's kind of a popular map. I mean, this schedule overall has had plenty of unpopular maps, but I would say week 5 has one of the most well-known maps of the schedule. So that could play to the advantage of these teams that don't practice as much.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting point. I didn't really think about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So week 5's coming up next after this, and then what happens after that? There's no week 6, is there, or is it the playoffs after that?
Yeah, it's playoffs.
Okay, so
I mean, we can also call it week 6, but it's playoffs pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, it's the end of the regular season. The last 2 teams are. It's the end for them. They don't get to play anymore. It's just playoffs among the top 6 teams, and then it's like the quarterfinals between 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 seeds. Then the semifinals, which is like 1 versus the winner of 4 versus 5, 2 versus the winner of 3 versus 6, and then it's the grand finals, which is like the winner of these 2 games against each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. I think that there's this thing that happens a lot is some teams, they kind of just try to coast by the regular season, try to play just good enough that they make playoffs. But then when playoffs come, that's when they like wake up and start like working their butts off to just play the absolute best possible.
Yeah, the competition's really heating up. So if people aren't really watching this now, like now's the time to get into it, because this is where we're getting closer to the playoffs and the
this used to happen a lot in IDL. In fact, I would say that even in season 10 of IDL, the winning team was like Doom Raiders. They didn't give a damn about like the regular season. They just won like 3-4 games, just barely enough to just make playoffs. When they did make playoffs, they started playing like their A game and just steamroll everyone. Like if you look at the statistics, it's kind of weird because like there was this number 5 team that just steamroll everyone.
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible? They only won like 3 or 4 games. So what happens is that like, they usually were not playing with their main lineup, or they didn't practice, stuff like that. But yeah, it's usually in the playoffs when you see like the best of certain teams. If I were to make a guess, I would say that, assuming that Reg or Hype or SXP make playoffs, I would say that these are the teams that will like power up in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see like the underdogs like really like pull themselves up on the leaderboard. That's going to be fun to watch. Oh, I'm excited. I'm getting fired up. I'm excited to watch some more games as they come up next week.
Looking at those stuff, it gets me hyped too. Like, damn, I can't wait. Like, I can't wait to play against these Trump teams.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. I really well, let's wrap this up.
All right.
People who want to talk to Zakken, you can find him on IRC. So if you sign up to or not sign up, but if you log into irc.quakenet.org, you can find him on the WDL channel, or you can also find him on Xandrinum on irc.xandrinum.com and in the Xandrinum channel. So if you want to contact him directly, you can get him there.
And a whole bunch of channels there, so it shouldn't be too hard to find me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited for this, man. This is awesome. And seriously, I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm glad you were able to make it on the show.
Likewise.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I'd like to have you on the show again sometime, too, especially like maybe as we get closer to the end of the game. It would be fun to speculate on what's going to happen.
Sure, man. Just hit me up on Doom World PMs, RSC. I'll be glad to do more of these.
Okay, yeah, cool. All right, thanks everybody for listening. Watch more shows when we make them, and I'll get this uploaded on YouTube soon. So thank you everybody for listening who watched on the Twitch stream. I'll have MP3s downloadable from MediaFire soon. And thank you Zakken for being here. And I don't have any plans for the next episode. Yeah, possibly. I don't have any plans for the next episode, but So if anybody's listening who would like to talk, I'd be interested in hearing from you. So send me a private message on Doom World, or you can contact me. Just send me a private message on Doom World. That would probably be the best. Thanks again for being here, and thank you, Space Marines, for listening.